Tell me, where are you right now? Are you lying in bed late at night, replaying every mistake you've made? Are you sitting in your car, staring at the steering wheel, wondering how you're going to keep going? Or maybe you're watching this in the middle of a busy day, pretending everything is fine while deep inside, you feel like you're falling apart. Wherever you are, I want you to pause. I want you to breathe. Because this moment, the one you're in right now, it is not the end. We all face seasons in life where the weight feels unbearable, when the world seems determined to break us, when the people we trusted walk away, when the job we thought was secure vanishes, when the dreams we worked so hard for collapse right in front of us. And in those moments, the voice of defeat creeps in. You're finished. It's over. You can't recover from this. But listen to me closely. That voice is lying. Because the story is not over until you decide it's over. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman named Rachel. On the surface, she had everything together. A stable job, a family, a future. But one year, everything crumbled. Her marriage ended. Her company downsized, and she was laid off. And as if that wasn't enough, her health took a hit. It felt like wave after wave kept crashing down, pulling her deeper underwater. One night, she sat in her living room surrounded by bills, her eyes swollen from crying. She whispered to herself, "Maybe this is it. Maybe this is the end of me." But here's the thing. That moment wasn't her ending. It was her turning point. Because life has a strange way of bringing us to our knees just before it teaches us how to fly. Think about it. Every powerful story of triumph begins with struggle. Every champion has tasted defeat. Every legend has walked through the fire. Nelson Mandela once said, "Do not judge me by my successes. Judge me by how many times I fell and got back up again." That's the real measure of strength. Not how well you avoid falling, but how fiercely you rise when you do. Rachel decided she wasn't going to let her pain be her full stop. She told herself, "This isn't the end. I will rise stronger." And slowly, painfully, step by step, she did. She went back to school. She started her own small business. She began rebuilding her health, her confidence, her life. It wasn't overnight, but every day she reminded herself, "This valley is not my forever." And that's what you need to hear right now. This valley, this heartbreak, this failure, it's not forever. It's not the end. The truth is, the strongest people you'll ever meet are the ones who've been through the darkest nights. They've faced the storms, they've lost everything, and yet they rise. Not because it was easy, not because they didn't break, but because deep inside, they made a choice. I will not end here. And maybe you need to make that choice today. Maybe you've been carrying the weight of loss, rejection, failure, or fear. Maybe you've been convincing yourself that your story is over. But listen, your story is still being written. And the chapter you're in right now, it's not the ending, it's the setup. The setup for your comeback. Rock bottom isn't a grave. It's a foundation. It's the solid ground where you get to rebuild stronger than before. Let me share with you a truth that changed my life. Sometimes you have to break so you can be rebuilt stronger. Pain isn't the end of you. It's the beginning of your transformation. Rachel's life didn't just go back to what it was before. It became something better, something more meaningful. Because through her pain, she discovered her purpose. She learned resilience. She became a voice of strength for others walking through the same storms. And you can too. So I want you to ask yourself right now, what if this isn't the end? What if everything you're going through is shaping you for something greater? What if your greatest heartbreak is preparing you for your greatest breakthrough? Don't believe the lie that says you're finished. Believe the truth that says you're being forged. Because diamonds are created under pressure. Warriors are made in battle. Legends are born in the fire. And you are in the making. This moment right now is not your conclusion. It's your construction. It's the raw material that will build the strongest, boldest version of you. So don't quit. Don't give in. Don't let the darkness convince you that there's no light ahead. Because the fact that you're still here, breathing, listening, proves one thing. Your story isn't done. And one day, you'll look back on this season and realize it wasn't the end. It was the beginning of your rise. The hardest war you will ever fight won't be with the world. It will be with yourself. Because even when the world moves on, Even when life gives you a second chance, your mind will whisper, "You can't. You're not good enough. You'll never make it back." That's the real battle. Rachel, the woman I told you about, knew this struggle too well. After she decided not to give up, she still had to fight the voices in her head every single day. The voice of shame that said, "You're a failure." The voice of fear that said, "Don't try again, you'll just get hurt." The voice of comfort that begged her, "Stay down, it's easier here." And maybe you've heard those same voices. Maybe you've been paralyzed by them. Maybe they've kept you from taking the next step, from trying again, from believing that you could rise. But listen, being unstoppable, becoming stronger, doesn't mean silencing those voices forever. It means learning to keep moving despite them. It means learning to walk forward, even when your knees are shaking. There's a quote I want you to hold on to. Courage doesn't mean you don't get afraid. Courage means you don't let fear stop you. Think about it. Every person you admire, every hero, every success story, they weren't fearless. They were afraid, but they moved anyway. Rachel's first step forward was small. She signed up for a night class at a local community college. Her hands shook as she walked into that classroom, feeling like she didn't belong. Surrounded by people younger, more confident, she almost turned back. But she didn't. She stayed. And that choice, that one choice, set her on a new path. That's how it works. The comeback doesn't happen all at once. It happens in small, trembling steps. Steps that feel insignificant in the moment, but become the building blocks of a stronger future. And here's the truth. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to take one step. Because the first step is always the hardest. After that, momentum takes over. But here's where most people fail. They stop themselves before they even start. They say, "I'll wait until I'm stronger, until I have more money, until I feel ready." But let me tell you something. You will never feel ready. If you wait for the perfect moment, you'll be waiting forever. The perfect moment is now. The perfect time is when you're scared, when you're uncertain, when you feel unqualified, because that's when growth begins. Rachel stumbled a lot in the beginning. She failed exams. She got rejected for jobs. She doubted herself constantly. But each time she fell, she reminded herself, "This isn't the end. I will rise stronger." And little by little, she did. Now let's turn this toward you. What's the voice inside your head telling you right now? That you're too late? That you're too broken? That you've failed too many times to ever succeed? That voice is lying. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not finished. Because failure is not final unless you quit. Pain is not permanent unless you surrender. And the end is not the end unless you stop writing your story. The greatest tragedy is not falling, it's staying down. I want you to think about a phoenix. It's a mythological bird that burns in the fire, reduced to ashes. But from those ashes, it rises again, stronger, more beautiful, more powerful. That's you. The fire in your life may have burned everything to the ground. But those ashes are not your grave. They're your rebirth. You are not defined by what happened to you. You are defined by how you rise from it. Rachel once said, "The day I realized my pain was shaping me, not destroying me, was the day my life changed." And that's the truth. Your pain can be your prison, or it can be your power. The choice is yours. So how do you rise stronger? You start by refusing to believe the lies. You replace them with truth. When fear says, "You can't," you answer, "Watch me." When doubt says, "You'll fail," you answer, "Failure is just a step toward success." When shame says, "You're not worthy," you answer, "I am becoming someone greater every day." It's not easy. It's not quick. But every time you replace a lie with truth, you grow stronger. And here's the beautiful part. Strength isn't built in the moments of comfort. Strength is built in the struggle. Muscles grow by being torn and repaired. Hearts grow by being broken and healed. Souls grow by being tested and refined. So maybe, just maybe, this storm you're in is not here to end you. It's here to shape you into the person you were always meant to be. And when you rise, because you will rise, you won't just be the same as before. You'll be stronger, wiser, tougher, more resilient. You'll carry scars, but those scars will be proof that you survived. Proof that you didn't quit. Proof that you rose. So the next time that voice whispers, "This is the end," I want you to answer back with power. "No, this is my beginning. This is where I rise stronger." Every comeback has a moment when everything shifts. A moment when the pain doesn't disappear, but something inside you says, "I won't live like this anymore." For Rachel, that moment came one morning as she looked at herself in the mirror. She barely recognized the woman staring back, tired eyes, a body worn from stress, a soul weary from defeat. But beneath the exhaustion, she saw something else. A spark, small, fragile, but alive. And she whispered to herself, "This isn't the end. This is the start of my rise." And from that moment, she wasn't just surviving. She was rebuilding. This is the truth most people miss. Transformation doesn't start when the world believes in you. It starts when you believe in yourself again. Think about it. J.K. Rowling was a single mother living on welfare when she started writing Harry Potter. Everyone around her said it was impossible, but she believed, even when nobody else did. Today, her story has touched the world. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Most would have quit, but he chose to believe in his dream, and he turned rejection into fuel. Oprah Winfrey was told she didn't belong on television. She chose not to believe that lie and became one of the most powerful voices in history. The turning point for every unstoppable person is the same. They stop listening to the lies of defeat and start believing in the power of their comeback. Rachel took that fragile spark of belief and nurtured it with action. She got out of bed when she didn't feel like it. She applied for jobs even after getting rejected. She studied at night when exhaustion screamed for her to quit. And with each small choice, the spark grew into a flame. That's what rising stronger looks like. Not giant leaps, but steady steps. Not instant transformation, but daily progress. And here's the thing. You don't need to see the whole path to start walking it. You just need to see the next step. Because clarity comes through action. Too many people sit in the ruins of their life waiting for a perfect plan, waiting for certainty. But life doesn't give you certainty. It gives you opportunities to take messy, imperfect action. And those actions, repeated daily, build momentum. Rachel's turning point wasn't glamorous. It wasn't a grand announcement. It was a choice, repeated over and over, to get up one more time than she fell. And maybe that's where you are right now. Maybe you're waiting for a sign, waiting for permission, waiting for strength to magically appear. But here's your sign. This message, this moment. Permission is granted. Strength will come as you move. Because the truth is, courage doesn't come before the action, it comes after. You don't wait to feel strong to rise. You rise, and through rising, you become strong. Let me give you a quote that's carried countless people through storms. It always seems impossible until it's done. Nelson Mandela said that, and he was right. Everything feels impossible at first, until you do it. Rachel's rise wasn't easy. She still had setbacks. There were days she cried on the floor, overwhelmed by fear and doubt. But every time she broke, she rebuilt. Every time she stumbled, she stood back up. And with every rise, she became stronger, more resilient, more unstoppable. That's the power of the turning point. It doesn't erase your pain, but it changes your relationship with it. Pain is no longer a chain holding you down. It becomes a weight you lift, building your strength. And here's the lesson. Your turning point won't come when everything gets easier. It will come when you decide that no matter how hard it gets, you won't stop. So let me ask you, when will your turning point be? Will it be the day you finally decide to leave behind the toxic relationship? The day you start chasing the dream you've buried for years? The day you stop numbing yourself with distractions and face your truth? Whenever it comes, remember this. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. A real choice, a real decision, a real commitment to rise stronger. Because one day, you'll look back on this season of your life and realize it wasn't your ending. It was the fire that forged you. It was the chapter that made your story worth telling. Rachel once said, years later, when people asked how she survived, I stopped waiting for life to get easier. I decided to get stronger. And maybe that's what you need too. Stop waiting for the storm to pass. Learn to dance in the rain. Stop waiting for the pain to end. Use it as fuel. Stop waiting for the world to save you. Save yourself. Because the truth is, no one can write your comeback but you. No one can live your rise for you. And no one can take it from you once you choose it. This is your turning point. This is the moment you whisper to yourself, "It's not over. Watch me rise stronger." The turning point is the spark, but the rise is the fire. Once you've chosen not to let your story end, the real journey begins. And make no mistake, the rise is never easy. It will demand everything from you: your patience, your courage, your resilience. But in giving everything, you discover that you are capable of more than you ever imagined. Rachel discovered this when she finally landed a job after months of rejection. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't high-paying, but it was a step forward. And sometimes that's all you need. One step to remind you that progress is possible. But with progress comes new challenges. As she rebuilt her career, she faced long hours, financial pressure, and the constant pull of doubt. Yet each day she showed up, not because she felt unstoppable, but because she had decided she would be. That's the secret most people miss. Being unstoppable isn't about feeling powerful every day. It's about choosing to keep moving, even when you don't. Think about a marathon runner. Around mile 20, their body screams in pain. Every part of them begs to stop. But the ones who finish don't run because they feel strong. They run because they've already decided they will not quit. That's the mindset you need in your rise. Your strength doesn't come from motivation. It comes from commitment. Rachel's rise was filled with small victories. Paying off her first debt, finishing her degree, landing a better job. And with each victory, she built momentum. Momentum is powerful. It's the proof that effort compounds. One small win fuels another, and another, until suddenly you're living in a reality you once thought impossible. And here's the truth. Your rise doesn't have to look dramatic. It doesn't have to be fast. It just has to be consistent. The climb may be slow, but as long as you're moving upward, you're rising. But rising also means facing critics. Rachel experienced this too. People who once pitted her started questioning her decisions. Why work so hard? Why chase something new? Just settle down, be safe. And maybe you've heard that too. Maybe people around you want you to stay small because your growth reminds them of their stagnation. But unstoppable people don't live for the approval of others. They live for their purpose. And purpose, that's the fuel that keeps the rise alive. Without it, the climb becomes exhausting. With it, even the steepest mountain feels worth it. Rachel found her purpose in helping others who had been broken by life. She began volunteering, sharing her story, encouraging women who felt lost. And in lifting others, she rose higher herself. Because here's another truth. The strongest rise is not the one you climb alone. It's the one that pulls others with you. When you rise stronger, you give permission for others to rise too. You become a lighthouse in the storm, a reminder that survival is possible, that triumph is possible, that transformation is possible. And maybe you don't think of yourself as someone who can inspire others. But listen, your scars, your battles, your story, it matters. Someone needs to see your rise so they can believe in their own. So don't hide your journey. Don't downplay your progress. Own it. Share it. Live it boldly. Because your rise isn't just about you. It's about the people who will be changed because you refuse to quit. Now, let's talk about what the rise really feels like. It's not a straight line. It's not always up. Some days you'll feel unstoppable. Other days you'll feel broken all over again. But the difference is, this time, you won't stay broken. This time, you know the fall isn't the end. Rachel still had setbacks. She still faced days when bills overwhelmed her, when loneliness crept in, when self-doubt whispered in her ear. But she had learned the most powerful lesson. Falling doesn't erase your rise. Quitting does. So she kept moving. And years later, she stood on a stage, telling her story to hundreds of people, and realized the woman who once thought her life was over had risen into someone she never dreamed she could be. That's the rise. Not the absence of struggle, but the triumph of perseverance. And here's what I want you to know. You are in your rise right now. Even if it doesn't feel like it. Even if progress is slow. Every day you refuse to quit. Every step you take forward. Every time you whisper, This isn't the end. You are rising stronger. So keep going, keep building, keep fighting, because your rise is already happening, and the world is waiting to see the strength you're becoming. We've walked through the breaking point, the struggle, the turning point, and the rise. Now comes the most important part of all, what you do with it. Because becoming stronger is not just about surviving. It's about creating a legacy. One day, your life will flash before your eyes. The pain you carried, the storms you endured, the failures you overcame, they'll all be there. But what will matter most is not what broke you. What will matter is that you rose. Rachel understood this the day she was asked to mentor a group of women at a shelter. She stood in front of them, not as someone who had it all together, but as someone who had been where they were. She looked into their eyes, filled with fear and hopelessness, and said, "I know what it feels like to think it's over. I know what it feels like to believe you'll never get back up. But I'm here as proof. It isn't the end. You will rise stronger." In that moment, Rachel realized her journey had come full circle. What once felt like her curse had become her calling. What once felt like the end had become the very story that gave others hope. And that's the gift of rising. You don't just save yourself. You become a light for others still lost in the dark. Think about it. Every great leader, every inspiring figure, every person who has changed lives, they didn't just rise for themselves. They rose for others. Their scars became survival guides. Their battles became blueprints for courage. And that can be you. Maybe you think your story doesn't matter, that your pain is too small, your victories too quiet. But let me tell you, someone out there needs to hear it. Someone is waiting for proof that survival is possible, that strength is real, that the end is not the end. Your story could be the lifeline they're waiting for. That's why you can't quit. That's why you must keep rising. Because your life isn't just about you. It's about the ripple effect you leave behind. So, let me ask you, what legacy do you want to leave? Do you want to be remembered as someone who gave up? Or as someone who fought back, rose stronger, and lit the way for others? Because at the end of the day, titles, money, and possessions fade. But courage, resilience, and impact last forever. And here's the truth. You don't have to wait to make an impact. You don't have to wait until you're successful by the world's standards. You can start right now. With every choice you make to rise, you're inspiring someone else. With every step forward, you're showing others that it's possible. So rise boldly, rise fiercely, rise knowing that your comeback will echo beyond your lifetime. Rachel's legacy wasn't in her career or her possessions. It was in the lives she touched, the people she lifted, the hope she spread. That's what it means to rise stronger. And now, it's your turn. This is not the end of your story. It never was. It's the beginning of a new chapter. The chapter where you rise with power, with courage, with relentless determination. The chapter where your scars turn into stories, your pain into purpose, your struggle into strength. So when life tells you it's over, when fear whispers you can't, when the weight feels too heavy, stand tall and say, "This isn't the end. Watch me rise stronger." Say it out loud. Claim it. Live it. Because it's true. You are stronger than you know, braver than you believe, more capable than you can imagine. And the world is waiting for the unstoppable version of you. So here's my final call to action. Don't let this message end here. Carry it with you. Let it fuel your decisions, your actions, your rise. Share it with someone who needs hope. And remind yourself every single day, this isn't the end. Subscribe to Short Revenge Stories for more powerful stories that will remind you of your strength. Like this video if it lit a fire inside you. And comment below, "I will rise stronger," because declaring it is the first step to living it. Your story is still being written, and the best chapters are yet to come.